Hi, welcome to my latest video. Today we're going to be fitting a black plastic bumper protector, bumper surround, onto a Land Rover Freelander 2. This is a 2009 XS 2.2 diesel. The pre-facelift grille looks like this. And what I'm going to be doing is fitting a black plastic cover around here to add a bit of protection to the front, and also just to make it look better. Let's have a look at what we get in the box. Here it is. So, this is it. Black plastic. It's a sort of hard rubber, and that will go onto the front end around the grille. Let's have a look at what else we get. We've got a fitting kit here. There is nuts and washers, and these black plastic bits which are for relocating the parking sensors. So I've got parking sensors on this one, so I need to drill some new holes in the bottom of this to relocate those, otherwise they'll be hidden behind the bumper cover and they'll be beeping continuously. We've also got this paper template here. This goes like so, to allow us to mark up to drill the top holes. Instruction booklet. The rough procedure is to mark up using the template, stick that on with masking tape, drill some 3mm holes along the top here, enlarging those to 7mm. Then the number plate comes off. Take off the number plate, mask up this area here, and then the method that they suggest for marking the lower holes is to put some sort of ink or white paint onto the lower bracket, the lower bolts. These bolts here, and then press them onto the car here so we can see where we need to drill. Once those are made and the additional holes are made for the parking sensors, the whole front end has to come off, the whole front bumper. So headlights out, undo the bolts at the top here, 4 bolts, screws underneath here, a couple of bolts, and then there's a couple of bolts down in here, which we can't get to until the headlights are removed. I've got these plastic protectors on my headlights, so they'll have to come off as well. The reason for removing the front end is purely to be able to put the nuts onto here, on the other end of these. So you fit the protector on, and then on the other side of the bumper screw the nuts on with the washers underneath, and then the whole front end can be refitted. Refit the headlights, refit the number plate, and ready to go. Okay, so putting the template onto the front end now. Not totally clear exactly where this needs to go. Does it go there? Or up here? Maybe that bit there lines up with that. Looking at the diagram in the instructions, it looks looks as if this lower edge here sits on this slight ridge there, where the angle of the front end sort of changes slightly. So that's what I'm going to do. Position that kind of centrally there. I'll get that taped in with some masking tape, and then we'll mark up and drill these holes. Taped on the template. I've lined it up with this slight ridge here, and that edge with this edge here. There's a little gap there, but that is actually shown. That is actually shown on the diagram. It's approximately 30 millimeters from the top edge of the template to there, and that goes all the way along. The template is slightly curved. Okay, so you've got to sort of adjust this centre bit so that it follows that ridge all the way, and is then lined up the same at each end. Okay. The instructions talk about marking to make these holes, but this one already has holes on it, which is good. So I'm going to get a pen and mark up through here, and then drill with a series of drills getting larger, starting with about 3 millimeters and then going up to 7 millimeters there. Okay, let's get that drilled. I just thought I'd get a ruler and just give you the measurements here. So at this end we've got 35 millimeters, 34 in the middle, about 33, 34, and then back to 35. Okay, so 35 at either end, going to about 33 millimeters in the middle. That's the distance from the top of the template to this little step here. And that's where my template is. If this works and it fits, then you can use those measurements to get your template in the right place. Okay, right, I'm going to drill now. A little tip here, just stuck a bit of masking tape underneath each of these holes and then marked up on the masking tape. The reason for that is so that I can then remove the template. Let's peel this off. And then when I drill, there's no risk of the drill slipping about, making a mess of the front of the car. I know it'll be covered up anyway, but it's always nice to drill without the drill being able to slide around. Okay, let's get drilling now. Now I'm just going to be very careful here. The radiator is fairly close to the other side of this bit of bumper here. This small drill's not so bad, it's not that long, but the other drills here, just need to watch they don't go in too far. Okay. Drilled the 3mm holes, all 6 of those. Now look at the instructions. We go up to 7mm on these, not 8.5. The 8.5 is for the lower ones. Don't know why they're larger. Maybe it's just to give it a bit more room to wiggle about and fit properly. But these are 3mm, then 7mm. So I'm going to do the 7s now. 7mm holes done. I can now take this off. What I'm going to do now is actually get the bumper surround, bumper cover, and just offer it up and just see if these holes are in the right place. Luckily, everything's lined up. Can't really see it very well, but all 6 of those studs have located nicely into those 6-7mm holes. Right, now we need to remove the number plate and start thinking about making the lower holes. Okay, so I've located all 6 top studs into the holes. I've removed my headlight protectors that I had fitted and removed the brackets here, because this was would not go in properly with those little mounting bracket bits there. The brackets that I've taken off won't be refitted. I need to replace them with some alternative brackets that came with the headlight guards that screw onto the outside of here. Probably need to make a couple of little cutouts on here to take the ends of those headlight guards. We'll worry about that later on. What I'm doing at the moment is trying to mark up where the lower studs are. It's a bit difficult to see. Let's try from the other end. So you can see there the stud there, and what I've done is put some bits of masking tape. Rather than put masking tape all the way along the front end, I've just put some behind each stud. Now the instructions say to put ink or paint on the ends of the studs to find out where, to mark them so you find out where you need to drill. What I'm going to do is just push each stud against the masking tape. Hopefully then we can see, just about see there, the masking tape has been marked up. There's also a mark on that one, you can't see it very well, it's just there. I'll take the front bumper surround back off again now. You should be able to see it a bit clearer then. I've removed this bumper surround again, and now what I'm looking for is the marks on the masking tape. Difficult to see that one. That one, it's there. That one, it's there. I think it's there on that one. Let me just, I'll refit that and just make sure that the studs line up with those marks that I've done. If I just put a arrow, then I can look in from underneath and see if the studs are at the end of those arrows. Okay, I'm happy that the studs are lining up with these 4 marks on the masking tape here. So I'm now going to drill those. These need to be drilled to 8.5mm, so I'll start off with a 3mm drill and then go up probably to 7 and then 8.5, just increasing the drill size in sensible steps up to the required diameter. Okay, that's all those holes done now. We'll get the bumper surround, put it on, just make sure that the studs line up. Take off the masking tape. This a little clean up as well, it's a bit filthy. We're getting there. Next is to take the front end off. So, taking the masking tape off, I've trial fitted the bumper cover there, and luckily everything lines up nicely. The bottom studs fit into those 4 holes. I said earlier in this video that I would give you some size information about where these dimensions for where these holes are. The top ones we've already talked about. That uses the template, line the template up on this ridge here, okay, all the way along. Those holes, no problem at all. These bottom ones relied on trying to sort of indent the masking tape, or the instructions suggest putting some Tipex or paint or something on the ends of the studs. What I'll do is I'll give you the measurements here where these holes are, so you can check that yours are in the right place. So first things first, this one here on the driver's side. So if I line that up to, let's say, just about where that bodywork starts to roll round for that little channel there, drainage channel, that is 80mm. Okay, the distance from that hole to the next one is 25. From the second to the third hole is about 19.75 centimetres, 197.5. Third to the fourth, 25 again, which it should be because these ones are 25, and then that distance there, we've got about 80mm. Pretty sure that's what we got there as well. Yeah, so 80mm in for the outer ones, and then 250mm in from those for the other two, for the 2 inner ones. Distance down, so let's start on this one over here. So vertical distance up to where the bodywork starts to roll around for the grille, we've got 35mm. Second hole is slightly less, probably about 33mm. 33 for that one, and then that one back to 35. That should allow you to work out pretty accurately where those holes need to be. I'd still recommend using the masking tape method, just in case your car or your bumper surround are slightly different to mine. But that's if you've marked it, it's worth checking those measurements. If you get the same as me, then there's a very high chance it's going to fit correctly. So removing the front end, removing the front bumper is fairly straightforward. It's one of those things that a lot of people get scared of and think, oh, I can't do that, it looks way too complicated. It's actually really, really simple. So headlights out, 2 M10 bolts. Pull the thing up at the back, headlights out, unplug, same on the other side. There are 4 other M10 bolts here. Loosen those, but don't remove them. Leave those to last, because if you remove those too soon, the whole lot will come crashing down. Then underneath, remove the 3 screws holding this on. Remove the towing eye cover, which has 2 sort of quarter turn slotted little kind of screw things there, which you can either use a large flat base screwdriver or a coin. Turn those, that comes off, and then up in here there are two more M10 bolts. Remove those. And then the next thing that we have to do is get access. This bolt here has to come out, and further down, the only tricky bit of the whole operation is down there. There is another bolt that goes upwards here, and it's hidden down there. And the way we get to that is by undoing the inner wheel arch and just pull the inner wheel arch liner over so you can get up in there. It is a little tricky, that one, but it's the sort of thing that's difficult the first time you do it, and the next time it's quite easy. Okay, I will loosen off this wheel arch liner, pull that back, and we'll have a look at that bolt. Looking up in the wheel arches, we've got a screw, a sort of bolt here with a Torx head, T30 Torx. Remove that, and then there are two studs here with 10mm plastic nuts on them. Undo those, and then the inner wheel arch liner should just fall away. Notice here, for when you reassemble, this has to sort of slot between these pegs here. There we go. It's out. Same on the other side. Remove these nuts and screw here. You can see how that's coming apart. And then should just drop down. Okay, out of the way. We can now get in and pull this part of the liner aside to get in up to those bolts. You should be able to now pull the inner wheel arch liner off those two studs, pull it out so it's like that. It doesn't need to come completely off the car. All you're trying to do is just get access behind here, and there is the end, that's the thread of the bolt that we need to undo, and it's there, up in there is the head of the bolt. The best way to get to it is to go right up round the back here using a socket set with a universal joint, and just go right up behind there. Once that bolt there comes out, it's just a case then of undoing those four along top, and the front end will be able to be lifted away. When you do lift it away, you need to disconnect the wiring for the fog lights and parking sensors if you have those fitted, and disconnect the washer hose for the headlight washers if you've got those fitted. The best thing to do there is just disconnect, there are two hoses, disconnect one from the tank end, one from the nozzle end, and loop the hose back round to stop the fluid pouring out everywhere. Okay, we're nearly there. So 10mm socket on a long extension bar. Just about get in, undo that one. Careful not to drop it down inside. There's that one. And then the other one is up inside here. Up in behind there. So what I'm doing to get to that one is I've got a ratchet with a long extension bar, then a universal joint, and then another extension bar, shorter one, with a 10mm socket on the end. Looks a bit crazy, but that is what I use to get up behind there, because it's at a bit of an angle. So you stick that up behind and then wind the ratchet and you can undo the bolt. Just about see that it's going up. Inside there with the universal joint up behind there to get to the head of that bolt. That's now undoing. First of all, undo these. Now you'll notice this piece here, that is a convenient little hook, holds the front end when all these bolts are removed, but it is fairly heavy. Just get ready to sort of catch it and lift it away, bearing in mind there's wires and hoses, and then have something soft to put it down on, like a towel or tarpaulin, because it will tip forward and naturally will sit on this face here. You don't want to get that too scratched up. Okay. Now the sides are sort of clipped with some pegs, just somewhere down in there, and they sort of pull away. So there's a bit of resistance to start with, as everything kind of just unclips. Just keep hold of that top bit. And that come apart. There we go. Told you it goes with the jump. Now it's very heavy, so just grab it. There we go. Carefully lower it down and get ready to disconnect hoses and wires. There's a big connector here, which is a bit fiddly. You have to push that red bit back, disconnect that, and then disconnect the hoses at the other end. That's the front end off. This connector here is a bit tricky to get apart. It's got a lot of mud and dust on it. You have to push that red thing back, using I had to use a small flat blade screwdriver to get that back, and then it just wiggled apart, but I think you're meant to press there in the middle. It was a bit of a game getting that apart, but it came apart. And then over here, as you can see, there's washer fluid leaking already. So I disconnected the pipe off here, a little one-way valve there, disconnected that hose, pulled the hose off from the motor there and looped that one back in so it doesn't lose any fluid. This front end is now completely separated from the car and can be carefully lifted away. Now, when you put it down, beware that it will try to tip onto the shiny side. So, I don't want to scratch that up too much. So, there it is. You can see now what lies beneath. Dust, webs, leaves, all sorts of rubbish that's got stuck onto the radiator. You can now see how close that's the air conditioning. Pretty sure that's the air conditioning radiator there. It might be the intercooler. I'm not actually sure. No, yeah, it's the top of the intercooler. You can see underneath there's the intercooler, radiators behind. There's the cross member there. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so now that the front end is off, I can take the bumpers around and pop that onto the front end and then access the thread of the studs behind to put on the nuts and washers. And that can be refitted to the car. So, almost ready to fit the bumpers around to the front end, to the bumper. Holes are all drilled, everything lines up properly. There's one last thing to do though, and that's these holes need drilling out for the parking sensors. Now, if we look at the instructions, they say there's a separate section here for cars with parking sensors. Drill 3mm hole in the centre of that little shape, and then drill a 28mm hole with a hole saw from the outside for inserting the bits of plastic. Now, I couldn't get hold of a 28mm hole saw, it was either 25 or 30 at my local DIY shop, so I went for 25, and then I will file the hole with a round profile file to make the hole slightly bigger until the parking sensor bezel is a tight fit into the hole. I thought that was a better way to do it than go for 30 and have them loose and possibly falling out. Okay, let's get those holes drilled. Right, that's the 3mm holes. Now I need to get the hole saw and enlarge that to 25. Okay, so drilled the holes with a 25mm hole saw and then just enlarged them very slightly by filing them around with this sort of curved file, and those have now fitted in nicely. Okay, so if we look at the other side, see those coming through there, and they're ready for the parking sensors. What I need to do first, before mounting on the new bumper surround, is I need to disconnect the parking sensors from the bumper. So to do that, you press there, pull that connector off, and then pull these out and pull out the parking sensor. Now the instructions say to get rid of this piece completely. Totally sure how we do that because it's glued to the. Oh, there we go. It seems to be coming off. Yeah. Yeah, you just pull it off. There it is. It's just sort of like glued on plastic kind of rivety things. Pull that one off. Let's pull off the other one. It's a bit fiddly. I need to get some pliers on it. that's now come off there. Just rip that off with some pliers. This one here came off by hand. So now I need to throw these bits away, keep the parking sensor handy. And now this is what instructions mentioned. I need to poke that through there, but there's not a lot of wire on there, so I'm going to have to cut this very slightly. The other one doesn't even reach the hole, so I have to cut this insulation tape carefully with a knife and just pull some more slack through there. Okay, so I've very carefully cut the insulation tape there to pull out more wire, retaped that with black insulation tape, same over here, pulled out that just to give that a bit more slack to go through the hole to the new sensors. So what I've done here is put these ring things around. There's actually a little sort of self-adhesive foam ring. You put the foam ring on first with the thin strip here, and then this locking ring which sits down, and you can see the little barbs there clip over it. Now this open side here faces the same way on both of them. So that one there, it's on this side, and this one's on this side as well. Right, there's one of the old sensors. It's a bit grubby, but I've just sort of cleaned up the face there, cleaned up around that step there, and that just simply clicks in like that. This is now coming through there. That looks nice. Now, interestingly, in the kit, where is it? There it is, down there. They provide these two rings, which I'm not completely sure what I do with. They don't go this side. Maybe they fit on this side, and that doesn't look right at all. Got a feeling that they were supposed to actually have gone on before these bits. Okay. Looks like I'll have to just pop that out and insert those rings. That wasn't in the instructions, so I missed that. Let me quickly do that. Right, I fitted the bezels. I now realise that this diagram here is talking about the bezels. Didn't realise that that piece was actually a separate piece that you have to clip on. A couple of things to note. This bezel is thicker on one side. I tried first put it on, had it the wrong way round. Couldn't get all of this to clip down, and then when I did have it the right way round, I still couldn't quite get those little barbs to pop out over there. So I've taken out the black foam rings, got rid of those, and that all now clips together nice and tight. Otherwise, with the thickness of the foam, even when pressing it really hard, it just wouldn't pop over there, and then you couldn't get the sensor in. So try it with the foam rings. If it doesn't go, take them out. Place that on top of the front bumper. I fed the wires through to the sensors and connected those up. And now pushing this down carefully to get those studs, all those studs, all 10 of them, through those holes. And then I can use the nuts and washers that come with the bumper cover to slowly put those nuts on and gradually tighten them up. Just put them on all on loose to start with, and then slowly tighten them, just to allow everything to settle in. It's on. That was quite hard work, doing up all those 10 studs and nuts. If we have a look on the other side, can see. So there are the 4 lower, and then up here you've got the 6 upper nylock nuts with washers. So looking at this, it's quite a nice tight fit along here. It's a nice tight fit here as well, which is important. A little bit of a gap here. It's a little bit floppy, but the nuts on the studs are done up fully. So maybe it's just meant to be like that. That's about as tight as I can get it to fit. Right, now we've got to put it back on. Okay, the front bumper with the new bumper surround is fitted back onto the car. It's now a case of just doing everything up. These 4 bolts here, bolt here, and the one from underneath. Same on the other side. Refit the wheel arch liner, put those screws, nuts back in, and then underneath we've got various bolts and screws to put in. When I lifted this back up on, it was a bit fiddly because I had to sort of use one hand to try and do the washer hose, the other hand to kind of clip the cable connector back on. This little hook here is useful. Just hook it on there, get it in position, and then as soon as possible just screw a couple of these in, just finger tight, just to hold that, just in case it suddenly does pop back over there and crash back down. Once you've got it in position, you can start putting all these screws back in. Quite quick and easy to put it all back together. That's looking good. Top edge is nice. Still got a slight gap here. Not totally sure what that's all about, but it won't go back any further. When I put my headlight guards back on, you can see that the grommet there is covered, so I'll need to sort of either cut a little bit out of there or just drill into that. I'll worry about that later. Right, let's get it all back together. Get it back down off the ramps. There we go, all back together. Bumper surround fitted. All the screws and bolts put back in. I still need to put the headlight guards back on, but I'll do that tomorrow. There we go. That looks good. Thank you for watching, hope that was useful.